Welcome everybody to Hoop Symmetry, where we discuss basketball in detail in hopes of further pushing the balance surrounding the game of basketball. Today we're talking about the USA versus Serbia game, which by most accounts is one of the best basketball games played of all time. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't able to catch this game live, which I'm kind of mad about. Like, I wish I could have caught this game live and saw it like in real time. I was actually at work during the game, so I had to go back. First, I watched the highlights. Then I finally found a recap, which I was able to watch so that I can go ahead and give my full breakdown about the game. My brother actually had called me when I was at work saying like, bro, you gotta watch that game. But I told him basically don't tell me anything and so I can see for myself. But that was an incredible game. And an incredible game is an understatement. There's a few talking points I want to get to about this game before we get out of here. So the first thing I just want to bring to light about that game that was just played was the first observation I made was, man, it was kind of like bittersweet, because the sweet part was I don't think we've ever seen a collection of players that good, that storied, that legacied, that accomplished, that iconic be on the same team at the same time and have to pull out every inch of basketball character that they have to win a game before. Like, I don't think we've ever seen that. I think one of the reasons why so many people are hyped about this game is because of that reason, really. We've just never seen that type of guys have to do that. So when you go back and like, there was a time when, USA was playing Spain, in the Redeem team around 2008, when Kobe ran through Gasol and that whole thing, it's in the documentary and stuff like that. That was a close game. Spain was a tough opponent at the time. And, they did have to dig to win that game, but not like this. This was true basketball resolve. If you've ever played in any type of high-level game, ever had a comeback like that or anything like that, all that it takes in order to pull it off. Serbia was playing out of their mind. Their guys were shooting like crazy. But still, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. You can throw Joel Embiid in there as well, because he had a hell of a game as well. But I kind of want to talk about those first three, because it was sweet to see you get the vintage version of all of those guys. That was the main takeaway for me. You kind of got the legacy storied version of every one of those players. You had Steph Curry from the gate. He was doing what he was doing when he became a sensation, when he became Chef Curry, when he became, the person used in every rap song when you talk about shooting. Back when he was dropping 50 in the Garden and everyone was watching, it was much CTV. Like, the Steph Curry who's making the shots, hitting the turnarounds, looking at the bench, going crazy, playing with joy. You had that throughout the entire game. The bench is hype. You can see how electric, whenever he's making shots and running off screens and making defenders fly by off pump fakes, looking at him and then making a shot and turn around. Like, when he's doing all of those things as a teammate, you can just see the life that's being poured into them as they're watching and they're rooting for it. You watch LeBron and Kevin Durant, even the guys on the bench, Anthony Edwards, having the time of his life watching it. You had that going. Basically, Steph Curry almost single-handedly kept USA alive throughout the entire game. Then you got LeBron James. LeBron James, a triple-double. The second of only 4 in NBA history. LeBron James is, being a locomotive in transition. When he came down in that fourth quarter, in 2 straight plays, or I don't know if they were back-to-back, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember 2 drives where one, he went to the left side with his right hand, little jelly finger roll. It was pretty as hell, like when Kevin Durant was running beside him. Another play where he came down, he had guys running beside him, he pushed it ahead, same drive, went to the left, faked the right hand, went to the left hand. It's just, you had LeBron doing LeBron things, being a freight train locomotive, triple-double machine, basically playing both the LeBron James facilitating role and kind of like this Draymond Green type of role, like locked in, trying to front Jokic, you know what I mean, so that Embiid can go ahead and help for him. Like, LeBron was locked in. So you had that version of LeBron. And Kevin Durant had a pretty quiet night for most of the night, but at the end of the day, we all knew who we wanted to give the ball to. I remember the interview they did with Anthony Edwards before the Olympics really got started, and they were basically asking him, like, if it's a close game, who do you think we should go to give the ball to? And he kind of was like, everyone, Kevin Durant. Like Kevin Durant, if we're smart, like, duh, that's what I would give it to. And we all know that Kevin Durant is Anthony Edwards' favorite player, so there's a little bias there. However, there was no bias in that decision. That decision was the collective just realizing, look, if we just need one bucket, out of everybody on the team, everybody alive on planet Earth, if I need one bucket, as Max Kellerman used to say, you know, what he used to say, the Martians with the death beam or whatever he's saying, like basically one bucket to survive. I mean, I want Kevin Durant with the ball. And that's just that on that. I want Kevin Durant with the ball. And you can see Team USA wanting Kevin Durant with the ball. He comes there, Joel Embiid comes to the screen, no, move. He tells LeBron, go, I got this. And they like, of course, no one's going to argue with you. You're Kevin Durant. Ices the game. Left to right crossover, got the defender leaning, pull up, guy tried to recover. It's too late. It's easy money sniper, bucket. And so it was so beautiful to watch that because you got all three of their basically signatures on that game. And they were just playing pure basketball. These guys were playing a game where it turned into, I'm not Kevin Durant anymore. I'm not Stephen Curry that you guys know anymore. I'm not LeBron James anymore. Even though they have the traits to do those things, but you can tell in their mind, they're just playing basketball in the most pure form of basketball. They're playing like how they would be playing if they were a little kid. Not with the skill level of expertise and knowledge, but just with the pure passion, no ego involved. I'm just trying to win. Like, you know what I mean? And even though, yeah, guys try to win in playoffs and stuff like that, you don't usually have to get that life and death type of fight in order to do that. Like it was in this game, because most games just aren't as competitive as this game. So, I mean, that was just amazing to see. Like that was amazing to see. But the bitterness comes a little bit in just the fact that I think this is the last time we may see this for a long, long time. I think people underrate how much it takes to become a legend. Because you got all these guys who are great players. You know, of course, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry are all great players, but they're also legendary. And you got a bunch of young guys who are now making their name. They're trying to become legendary. A lot of young, great players, even like an Anthony Edwards type of guy. But man, it's not just about being good or even great. Like these are decades or, decade and a half of years put in and accomplishments made to go along with your greatness on the court. And the branding and all these things that lead to someone becoming legendary. And so in this game, you had multiple people's career paths which have done that. I mean, Kevin Durant, you think about when he's crying saying, you the real MVP. That was back in like 2012. Mom, you the real MVP. That was the Kevin Durant, the Rucker Park Kevin Durant. He had to do that. He had to do the OKC thing. He had to lose 3-1. He had to go to Golden State. He had to win some championships. Had to go to Brooklyn. He had to do all of these things, you know what I mean, in order to become who he is. LeBron James, drafted out of high school, picked in Cleveland, fails against the Spurs, has an upset thing against the Celtics where a lot of people criticize him. Then made another move where a lot of people were criticizing him when he moved to Miami, had to win championships there, go back to Cleveland, come down 3-1, blah, 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 blah. Stephen Curry, coming into the league, always underrated, no real major offers, has to go to Davis and leads them into the NCAA tournament, has a crazy tournament showing. Gets a little bit underrated in the draft, even though he was still taken pretty high. Goes to Golden State. They're not sure what they want to do with him. Monte Ellis, they don't know. He has ankle injuries all the time. He's small, frail. He's not really a point guard. He's more of a combo guard. So they say, what does he do? Overcomes it all. Has Mark Jackson as a coach. Has a great thing going. Mark Jackson gets fired because he can't agree with the ownership. And, they kind of blackball my guy, Mark Jackson, who deserves another shot. But that's a video for another day. Goes through all of those things. Ends up winning championships. Becomes unanimous MVPs. But now people criticizing him for the finals MVP stuff. Boom, now I have to go and come back after Golden State loses every game in the season. Almost, of course. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Gets the number 2 draft pick, James Wiseman. Have a low year. Curry hurts his hand. People saying the Warriors are finished. Comes back 2022, just a couple years ago. Leads the team to a championship final, gets a finals MVP. That's what leads to the legend of Stephen Curry. And on the team, you have a bunch of guys who have their own career paths and major accomplishments, but that legendary status, that's very hard to earn because it's not just about being great. It's about being great and accomplished in a way to where all of your peers can objectively respect it. And in this game, you had 3 of those guys on the same team, digging deep and using all of that experience that I just named. That's how you win those games. Those guys have been in so many big games. Those guys have been through so much that in those moments like that, that's why you have them on the team. Because if they hadn't gone through all of the things they had gone through, that may not have given them the resolve or know-how in that moment to pull it through. And you needed all of it from each one of them in order to pull it through. And they pulled it through in a massive way. Like when Kevin Durant got the ball at the top of the key, Dwayne Wade on the call, KD's not nice, Hezzy pull up bucket. Like come on, man. You can't write it better than that. Like they all came together. LeBron James finishing on the break, triple-double. Kevin Durant sealing the game because he's the best bucket that we have going in the world, in my opinion. I'll always stand by that. Kevin Durant is the best bucket. If we're just talking about a bucket, KD, man. KD to me is the best bucket all time. Like if you just need a bucket, give the ball to Kevin Durant. And Stephen Curry was brilliant. This to me was a Stephen Curry game who had kind of been struggling through these Olympics, trying to play a different role, different rules and all that type of stuff. But look, man, when the rubber meets the road, legends get it done, and they proved it again. And so it was a little bit bitter because I don't know if we'll see that. I know we won't see it from them probably ever again, which is already bitter in and of itself. And even to just have guys with that level of career success, that level of icon and prestige come together and have to dig deep to win a game like that, it may be a long, long time before we ever even see that again. And so that was the bitter part about that. So that's one thing I wanted to point out about the game. Just how the cream rose to the top. Those legends, I mean, you could tell who it was. You could tell who needed to be out there. The rotations made themselves. It kind of took Steve Kerr out of it, which is probably a good thing, considering a lot of the moves like Steve Kerr is doing, with the whole Jason Tatum piece of things and the Devin Booker, Drew Holiday overlapping. Like there's a lot of things Steve Kerr is doing that I don't really agree with at all, but I typically don't agree with a lot of Steve Kerr's rotational moves. But again, a video for another day. But still, this was a game that was just pure. The rotations decided themselves at the end of it because it was like we all know who needs to be out there. We don't have to think about it. The game decided who needs to be out there. And those guys delivered. Serbia played a hell of a game. So another talking point I kind of wanted to go over was the plateau effect of life, and basketball is just another part of life. And what I mean by the plateau effect is just that I say this a lot about anything. There's only so good people can get at something, or so good something can become. And even if human beings don't reach it, you can kind of become close enough to it. It's kind of like a logarithmic thing, if y'all are into math, like where it's like the graph and here's the line, here's the max that you can reach, and there's a sloping. At first it's going up kind of linearly, then it kind of goes like this, and it's kind of slightly trending upward. But the reality is just that you will never quite hit this line. But you will get so close to it that any increases after a while become so insignificant they're not really worth talking about. And that's what happens. So like the NBA, if people don't know, it's not even 100 years old. We just had the 75th anniversary. It's less than 80 years old. Basketball, just a little over 100 years old as a sport. So in the beginning stages of that growth and development, you have this exponential growth. If you look at the difference between the guys playing the first basketball games, and you have Bob Cousy and those guys, and you have Bill Russell and those guys, you watch that game played. Then you watch Michael Jordan. Even before Michael, if you watch Magic Johnson and those guys, that's a different game. That is an exponential increase. Skyrocketing. Then you keep watching it. And it's still getting better. Now, it's not the same leap from Jordan to now as it was from the beginning to Jordan. Or even if you use the same time interval, it's not going to be the exact same level of increase. And the further along you go down that evolutionary chain, the less significant increase you will see from year to year basis. And I'm saying all that basically just to say that, I don't think we're ever going to see anyone twice as good as Kevin Durant. Like how Michael Jordan is twice as good as Bill Russell, who people think was a great player at his time. I don't think you're ever going to see someone twice as good as LeBron James. You'll see somebody probably better. Someone down the line will be better. Wemby might be better. You know, who knows? But he's not going to be twice as good. And so, saying all to say, you're seeing guys play basketball at almost the highest level that it can potentially get played at. Because at a certain point, things just can't get too much better than they are. You know, so I feel like that makes, you know, the emphasis, or that should make the emphasis on appreciating what you're seeing when you see people kind of reaching almost that precipice or that max or that height of, you know, an ability, which is what we were kind of seeing. And also because of that reality that you can only get but so good at basketball. Now, even the guys on the Serbian team who aren't LeBron James, who LeBron James still might be twice as good as a bunch of those guys, but they're still just right here though. They're not like a guy playing in the 50s or 60s or even 70s. These guys can hoop. Bogdanovich is a hooper. And even the guys who aren't in the NBA, there's a level of skill that players now that exist just in the world who are not in the NBA have that we've never quite seen before. There's always been hoopers that existed, you know, from Rucker Parks. So you can go to different parks and stuff, or different, you know, YMCAs, and you may have a guy who played at a high level D1 or something like that, maybe played overseas or something like that. You could tell these guys are really good. But there've never been a time in history where there's guys as elite walking around the earth who are not in the NBA as there is right now. There are a lot of guys watching the international teams where they could easily be on an NBA roster. The difference now between the guy who's the 12th player on the roster or the 12th man in the rotation and the guy who's a little bit out the league is not as great as it once was. So these guys are hoopers and they came to play. Jokic, again, I said it in the last video, I'll say it again, definitely the best player in the world. Definitely the best player in the world. Not hitting threes, doesn't matter. He just knows what to do, when to do it, and is going to make you pay. He's big, physical. AD, Bam, too small for me. I'm just going to have him be too small. Embiid could guard him some. So I feel like they should have not doubled as much when Embiid was guarding. But still, Jokic is just, man, it's only so much you can do. And he had those guys hooping. And they, you know, credit to them because all Jokic could do is get guys great shots is what he was doing, 11 assists. But those guys had to knock him down, and that's a high leverage moment. That is a highly pressurized environment to knock those shots down, and they did in a huge way. They were making everything. They came to play. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good of players you have, because this plateau effect, even if they're this good, well, hell, we this good. And even though that may seem like a massive gap, because it is a massive gap, at the end of the day, we still have to play the game. And we have a chance when we're this good. When you can shoot like that, when you can make shots like that, and you have the best player in the world on your team, you got a shot. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, Team USA has to go and score. They have to go on the other end and score a point. I don't give a damn if you have Kevin Durant, LeBron, and all of them. One guy on this possession is going to shoot the ball, and that guy can either make or miss. If you're an efficient shooter in the NBA, you shoot 50%, one of every two. So hell, all we got to do is make one of every two, and it depends on what type of shots we're taking can dictate the score. If you're making one out of every two and those are 2-pointers, and we're making one out of every two and those are 3-pointers, well then, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have a little bit of a hard time beating us, no matter how good you think you are. Because we got the best player in the world, and we're still really good. So you guys may be better, you know, but hey, you have to prove that better in a materialized way in a basketball game on those 40 minutes in this case. And, you know, that still requires a lot of effort to do. So shout out to Serbia and those guys because they played a hell of a game. They played a hell of a game. But yeah, man, I just wanted to make sure we gave everyone flowers for that game. As just a fan of the sport, that had to be one of the most incredible games played. Like, you know, you had the Serbians going crazy. Bogdanovich, 3 to the dome, talking to Melo. Like, he's making everything. And this guy's a hooper. Like, you know what I mean? Bogdanovich is a hooper in the NBA. And a lot of times when you give a guy opportunity, they are way better than what they can show. Like, you know, a lot of guys are limited by their role. But here, Bogdanovich is playing free. And not only is he playing free, he's playing for something, bigger than just something in the NBA for him. And not only that, Bogdanovich probably hasn't felt that way of playing really for something significant in a while, so he's fired up. And so are the rest of these guys. Like, you know what I mean? You rarely even see Jokic as passionate as he gets playing in the Olympics in the NBA. He will in the NBA Finals and stuff like that when he needs to. But I'm just saying, you got guys playing for, their life, and it's just a beautiful game to watch when guys are playing like that. The ball's moving, guys are making shots. It's just intense. So I want to give everyone their flowers for that. Now, the main person I did want to spend a little extra time just giving their flowers to is Stephen Curry, because I think he deserves it. Like, I think after playing poorly and the performance he delivered, he deserves all of the credit in the world. That guy was sensational. And this is a guy who's highly criticized all the time. So I just wanted to make sure we gave Steph the love, because he was making shots, turning around, and he really set the tone for them. He kept them afloat in the game. He was just doing it all for them. So I wanted to make sure, Steph Curry got the shout out. I wanted to make sure we shouted out Kevin Durant. I wanted to make sure we shouted out LeBron. And I did also want to give Embiid some love, because Embiid has been criticized all throughout this international play. Like, people have been killing Embiid. He hasn't been playing well. I'm going to be honest. He looked out of shape and all types of stuff and hurt. But, honestly, what's new for Embiid? Like, he always looks out of shape and hurt. Almost like he's But today, he didn't. Today, you can tell he took that matchup personally. And he was like, no, Jokic, even if y'all think Jokic is better than me, he damn sure is not a lot better than me. And he's damn sure not going to dominate me. And Embiid was working. Coming down, trailing, tray ball, hezzy in the midi, pull up, bucket. Like, Embiid is doing everything, post work. He's playing defense. Like, he's active, he's engaged. Like, that was incredible, man. That was incredible. And so, like, that game, I feel like it's going to go down in the Smithsonian Hall of Fame of basketball games played. And an uncontroversial take, I do think they definitely are cooking the dream team. Like, if people are objective, like they're definitely cooking the dream team. But that's for another day. I'm not really going to get too deep into that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to give some love, a quick reaction to that game. I'm probably going to have another video coming out talking a little bit more about the game, other things I wanted to hit on. I just kind of want to give a first kind of reaction type of video and go over just a couple things I saw, just honoring the legends for everything that they did in the game and just for their careers, man. I feel like it was a beautiful, beautiful moment just to see those three guys on the same team doing their thing, along with Embiid, along with Booker, who played really well in his role, D'ing up. I really wanted to show those guys some love and show the Serbian national team some love, man, because you need Serbia to be playing like Serbia in order to pull that performance out of Team USA. And I think with the performance Serbia did surpasses any of the other tests for USA that people have thrown to be able to pull that out. There have been some tough teams, but the way what Serbia pulled out of these guys, is special. It's special. And so I just definitely want to go over that. And again, anytime we see pure, beautiful basketball, I feel like it's our job as basketball fans to acknowledge it, praise it, talk about how much we love it, so we can encourage the things that we want to see. We want to be the change that we want to see, and that starts by championing things that we want to witness. So that's all for this video. Just a quick breakdown, quick reaction of that game. An incredible game by both teams. USA now goes on to fight France in the gold medal game. Of course, I got USA, being from the USA, but I also just think objectively they're just a little bit better. Wemby, who's a player I love watching. I can't wait to see how hyped he gets for this game. I feel like we may see a special Wembanyama performance. I think this may be a special Wembanyama performance. I still got USA winning, but I think Wemby is not going to go out on this stage with a quiet performance, or maybe the lights will be a little bit too bright for him in his very young career. I guess we'll wait around and see. I'm definitely tuning in for this one. I'm not working during that game, so not gonna miss that one. But yeah, everybody, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, go ahead and hit the subscription. It really helps me out. I like doing this basketball content. I love the game of basketball. So if you enjoy the game of basketball, you want to hear more of it like that and not just hot takes about basketball, hit the subscribe and tune in. Hit the post notification bells if you would like to see new uploads. This is Coach Muhammad with Hoop Symmetry, and I am out.